Hi, it's good to see you again. I hope you are taking good care of yourself. And as a student of toxicology, I can appreciate that you are taking good care of your family also. So, wherever you are, be safe, be protected. I'm very much sure you must have watched the earlier three lectures. The first one was dealing with medical toxicology, and the other two were dealing with veterinary toxicology. This is the third lecture on veterinary toxicology, and I hope we shall finish it today. When we talk of veterinary toxicology, we discussed dogs and cats, we discussed cattle, we discussed swine, and today we are going to discuss the toxicosis in horses and in birds. I talk of horse, I mean horse itself, I mean donkeys, I mean the mules, and mm, uh, you might not be knowing, we have got a very good research center on horses in Meerut itself. It is CMVL, Central Military Veterinary Lab. We have got Equine Research Center in Hisar. Equine Research Center in Hisar, it is a ICR organization. So all these people, they do work on the different aspects of the toxicological problems associated with horses. Horse is one of the earliest domesticated animals. Horse is supposed to be the power of a king or a queen. Horse is supposed to be very hard. Horse is supposed to be energetic. That is why we say that the engine is this much of horsepower. So, horsepower has been a symbol of energy, a symbol of power. But as a student of toxicology, what do we find? That horses are also affected by different pesticides, by different chemicals, including heavy metals, including mycotoxins, and so on. The earliest literature, if you go through, we do not have a separate book as such on equine toxicology. We have got a separate book written by La Blonde on avian toxicology, but we do not have a separate book on equine toxicology. But all textbooks of toxicology, they discuss about veterinary toxicology, and veterinary toxicology, the toxicosis in horses, and toxicosis in horses is very much a part of agriculture, very much a part of veterinary science. So let us start with the real problem, and when we go through that, we find that like other monogastric animals, the horses are also monogastric. The type of the food that horses consume is different from the food that the cattle are taking. Totally different, and the alimentary canal or the digestive system is suitably adapted for that purpose. It has got a cecum, it has got a different microbiome. Microbiome, the bacterial population present inside the gut, and that helps in the digestion of the food. So, that microbial biome is totally different in horses. So, the food is also different. So, what do they consume? They consume grass. Grass is, if there is something to match, if you want to match horse with something, you will match horse with grass. So they are the grazers, and they graze in the pastoral land, and in that pastoral land is managed by a farmer, and the farmer grows the foliage or the forage for horses separately. But what happens is, to increase the growth, the farmer uses certain pesticides. Those pesticides may be depending upon the type of the crop. The farmer may prefer to use a organochlorine pesticide, the farmer may prefer to use a organophosphate pesticide, or it may be a carbamate. And it may be many of the organochlorine pesticides, DDT and aldrin, dialdrin, they have been banned now. And many of the similarly organophosphates, malathion, parathion, they are available under different names. But even then, they are used by a farmer. And the same field, pastoral land where the farmer has grown the forage for horses, the horses go there, graze, and they get intoxicated. So that is one way how the horses are getting intoxicated by the grasses. The second way horses are getting intoxicated are through other plants. Those plants are like astragalus. Those plants are like astragalus, causes poisoning. The other sorghum, it goes to the gut, and there the hydrogen cyanide is formed, and the hydrogen cyanide leads to a specific disease in the horse. Similar, the astragalus, it is consumed by the horse, and the horse suffers from poisoning. Similarly, there are two more examples of toxicosis in horses, and these examples they deal with the use of lead, with the lead toxicosis and arsenic toxicosis. Arsenic is again a component of many pesticides or insecticides. So it is sprayed in the field, and the horse consumes the arsenic laden feed, the arsenic contaminated feed, and the horse becomes victim of arsenic poisoning. Similarly, the horse become victim of the lead poisoning. The lead, ubiquitous in the environment, lead contaminated soil may be there, the water which is being used for irrigation of the plant, the crops, forage, it may be contaminated by lead, and the lead absorbed by the plant, and that particular plant is eaten up by the horses. The farmers they grow horses in a that is called as stud, and in that stud the horses are allowed free to move, free to go anywhere in the pastoral land of the farmer, and that land is having different types of crops, and those crops are being freely eaten up by the horses. Though horses are intelligent enough what is supposed to be eaten and what is not to be eaten, but even then they got fall prey of this. And there is one more thing which is very important, and it has been mentioned by different textbooks of toxicology, and that occurs due to the poisoning of equine poisoning by a mycotoxin, and that mycotoxin comes from a fungus, fusarium, and the fusarium secretes a active principle, fumicin, and when the crop or the food contaminated by this fumicin is eaten up by the horse, it leads to a well-defined pathology, and that pathology is known as equine leukoencephalomalacia. Leukoencephalomalacia. You should remember it. I can ask in the test what is equine leukoencephalomalacia. This is caused by fumicin. And similarly, the castor beans, they are not eaten up by horse. Sorghum is generally not eaten up by horse because it may contain hydrogen cyanide. And there is another plant which is accidentally eaten up by a horse, that is canthridine. And canthridine has got blister beetles growing inside the plants, and these blister beetles are eaten up along with the hay, and they cause toxicity. So in this way, you find that yes, the horses are very much prone to suffer from different sources of toxicosis. If we come next to poultry, we come next to turkey, we come next to when we talk of poultry, we do talk of turkey, we do talk of ducks. Poultry doesn't mean chicken. Poultry means ducks. Poultry means the turkey. So all of them are having different feeding habits. The duck goes down into the water, picks up something and eats it up. The turkey again keeps on going, moving from one to place, searching for food, and similarly the chicken. There are farmers which grow chicken, and poultry farmers, there are turkey farmers, and similarly there are duck farmers. It is a commercial activity, or you can say that it is an agricultural activity where the people are growing, developing ducks, chickens, and turkey. And these have been dealt very nicely by a scientist, by a toxicologist, La Blonde. La Blonde has written a very good book on avian toxicology. And if you go through that book, La Blonde, then you will find that he has described very precisely the different venues which may be responsible for the toxicosis in poultry. In poultry, there are certain drugs that have been found to be toxic, like sulfonamides. You know, sulfonamides are toxic to man, and similarly, they are toxic to poultry also. These sulfonamides are used as anti-worming agents. They kill the coccidia. So, it is a normal practice of a poultry farmer to kill the coccidia by using a drug which is called as sulfonamide. And these are, they cause toxicity. And how the toxicity is recognized? It is recognized by ruffed feathers. It is recognized by the depression in the bird. It is recognized by the depigmentation of the egg. The brown eggs, they start losing their brown color. It is recognized by the hemorrhages of different organs in the body. If the bird dies, and when the postmortem is performed, and the doctor is able to find that there are multiple organ hemorrhages in the body, even 0.006% of sulfonamide can cause toxicity in chickens. Similarly, there is another drug which is called as narkibazine. Narkibazine is again a dangerous drug because it disturbs the yolk. It is a developmental toxin. The symptoms are that the bird exhibits a stiff neck. The bird exhibits staggering. Staggering means it's not able to move properly. That is called staggering. And similarly, there are other drugs which are nitrophenide. Nitrophenide affects the locomotion of the bird. It affects the reflex of the bird. There is another one, cresol, very frequently used chemical cresol. It is a disinfectant, but it causes toxicity in the chicken. It produces respiratory problems. Then there are salts. Even sodium chloride may be harmful to the poultry. 5 to 10% of the sodium chloride, if it is given to the chicks, it can lead to convulsions, right? So the salt was, I told you in my previous lecture also, that salt is toxic to swine. Similarly, salt is toxic to the birds. Then there are certain insecticides. Insecticides are used to kill the external parasites of the birds. You are using sulfonamide to kill the internal parasites of the bird, endoparasites. And if the population of the chicken in your farm is infected by certain external parasite, it may be an insect, so you have to use an insecticide. And that insecticide maybe organochlorine compound, it may be organophosphate compound, it may be a carbamate or carbonyl, and they are, how the birds, they get infected. Sometimes the golf course is there in your nearby, and the bird goes to just venture in the grasses, and by accident it has eaten something, and the toxicity occurs. So in that way, you find that sometimes the seeds fumigated by these pesticides are eaten up by the birds. Seeds which a farmer has fumigated to protect from the loss, from the infection of the insects, and the bird suffers from poisoning. Then there is a very famous activity, hunting activity. The people go, especially in America, a farmer goes with a dog and a gun to kill the birds and to kill the waterfowls. And when the farmer or the hunter kills the waterfowls, the pellets of the gun, that is the pellets of the cartridge, they are containing lead, and they get somehow deposited in the field, or they enter into the water body from where the fowl has been hunted. And when another duck comes in, it will be picking up those lead pellets and suffer from lead toxicity. Therefore, we say that in environment, everything is related with everything. You see, you killed the bird and the pellets were fallen into the water body, and another bird came and it has eaten those. By accident, it has eaten those lead pellets and it suffered from toxicity. Similarly, yellow phosphorus. Yellow phosphorus is used in fireworks. So you are using fireworks just to please yourself or to celebrate something, and those pellets are fallen down. The bird comes and eats those pellets and suffers from the phosphorus poisoning. And phosphorus poisoning is so harmful, it leads to paralysis. I need not to tell you what lead will cause in birds. It will be causing the same nervous problems that it causes in man. It will be causing the same problems in liver and kidney that it causes in man. So, there are some other avenues of poisoning in birds. They deal with rodenticides. Strychnine, we talked about strychnine earlier also, and this strychnine leads to the bleeding of bleeding in birds. It leads to liver damage. It leads to cardiac failure. Strychnine is very dangerous. Then we have got certain other avenues. They are called as what you call them as mycotoxins. And mycotoxins, we have discussed about aflatoxins, and avian aflatoxicosis is a well-defined pathology in avian toxicology. That the corn which was offered to the birds in poultry was infected by the aflatoxin, by the fungus, and that lead to the formation of aflatoxins AF1 to T2 like this, and the corn was contaminated by the aflatoxin, and the same aflatoxin was taken up by the birds and they suffered the toxicosis. It is called as avian aflatoxicosis. Note it down. I can ask you, what is avian aflatoxicosis? It is caused by the corn contaminated by the fungus. Similarly, we come across with another avenue of poisoning, that is ergot poisoning. Ergot poisoning occurs in birds. So it is not only the chicken, the Gallus species, it is the turkey also, it is the duck also, duckery. In integrated farming, we use swine and the fish and the ducks together. This is called as integrated farming, where a farmer uses the same pond for growing the fish, same pond for rearing the ducks, and this is how the birds. Raquel Carson has very well described these toxins. She was afraid of it, that yes, a day will come when we'll be using these pesticides so frequently that even the birds will be contaminated. In next lecture, where I'm going to discuss the wildlife toxicology with you, there I will be talking with some specific examples of the poisoning in birds, like vulture, that is scavenging birds. So they eat so many dangerous chemicals, and therefore their population is declining. So this is how we discussed about the dogs and cats. We discussed about the cattle. We discussed about the swine. We discussed about horses. We discussed about birds. And I think this discourse will help you in understanding the subject of veterinary, understanding the subject of this particular unit of veterinary toxicology in applied toxicology. Keep safe, stay home, study well. We shall be discussing on wildlife toxicology in the next lecture. Thank you.